In Potiphar's house he served with grace, a foreign land but he knew his place. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. But he stood tall. In Potiphar's house he gave his all. Though lies were told and chains were tight, Joseph trusted in God's light. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. Shone so bright. To the prison's gate, Joseph's faith would not abate. In the darkest hour he saw God's plan. In Potiphar's house he took his stand. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. Shone so bright. Through every trial, every tear, Joseph's faith remained sincere. In Potiphar's house his light did glow. God's hand was guiding him, this he did know. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. In the darkest night when hope seemed gone, Joseph's faith kept him strong. He held on to God's promise true. In Potiphar's house his light broke through. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. From the pit to the prison's gate, Joseph's faith would not abate. In the darkest hour he saw God's plan. He fulfilled God's perfect plan. With every step and every test, Joseph's faith was manifest. In Potiphar's house he learned to trust. In God's plan he found his just. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. He held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. From humble beginnings to a place of might, Joseph shone with God's pure light. In Potiphar's house his story began, a testament to God's divine plan. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. So let us learn from Joseph's way to trust in God, come what may. In our trials will take us stand. Faithful in a foreign land. In a land so far from home, Joseph stood yet not alone. In Potiphar's house he served with grace, a foreign land but he knew his place. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. Temptation came but he stood tall. In Potiphar's house he gave his all. Though lies were told and chains were tight, Joseph trusted in God's light. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. From the pit to the prison's gate, Joseph's faith would not abate. In the darkest hour he saw God's plan. In Potiphar's house he took his stand. Faithful in a trials and tempest he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. Through every trial, every tear, Joseph's faith remained sincere. In Potiphar's house his light did glow. God's hand was guiding him, this he didn't know. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. In the darkest night when hope seemed gone, Joseph's faith kept him strong. He held on to God's promise true. In Potiphar's house his light broke through. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. When dreams were spoken and truth revealed, Joseph's destiny was sealed. From the prison to the throne so grand, he fulfilled God's perfect plan. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. With every step and every test, Joseph's faith was manifest. In Potiphar's house he learned to trust. In God's plan he found his just. Faithful in a foreign land, with God's strength he took his stand. Through trials and tempests he held on tight. In Potiphar's house he shone so bright. From humble beginnings to a place of might, Joseph shone with God's pure light. In Potiphar's house his story began, a testament to God's divine plan. From humble beginnings to a place of might, Joseph shone with God's pure light. In Potiphar's house his story